Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Health Analytics Asia. Today we will be discussing about the mental health of doctors in India and how COVID-19 has taken a huge toll on the mental health of doctors. It is very important to know and understand that doctors work under high pressure even under normal circumstances, and COVID-19 has put them under additional pressure. And there are a lot of researchers and studies which highlight that such work conditions can put a person under psychological distress and widespread anxiety. So, we invited our panelists today who worked on ground throughout COVID 19 in past 1.5 years and who cared for COVID 19 patients. Please welcome Dr. Shimna Aziz, who's a public health specialist and a social media activist based in Kerala. We also have with us Dr. Mona Kulpati, who is a child specialist attached to Rainbow Children's Hospital in New Delhi. And this panel will be joined by Dr. Vandana Shetty, who is a consultant psychiatrist at Mind Body Clinic, Bengaluru. Welcome, everyone. So I would like to start this discussion with you, Dr. Shimna Aziz. What has been the biggest challenge for you in this past 1.5 year, and how have you been dealing with the stress which comes with it?
Thank you, Nabila, for inviting me to the discussion. I've been working in Government Medical College for the past 3-4 years, and I was doing the COVID duty right from the beginning of the pandemic, and it has been a bit too difficult, and a lot of uncertainties were in front of us right from the beginning. What exactly the situation went like? What exactly was difficult to define the difficulty per se? The problems were like, first thing, people itself were so much afraid of the situation. They were facing a new disease, so people, the including our own families, they were like, are you supposed to come home? Is it okay if you come home? And will you spread the disease to us? And Kerala being a very much literate, and we have a lot of it's well known for its literacy and stuff like that, but we have been facing a lot of discrimination from the society and sometimes from the family also, which is very unfortunate. And they were I was a doctor who was working in the COVID OP, where the people come inside and they sit in front of us 6 feet away, and we ask their symptoms, and we decide if we should send them for an RT-PCR or antigen test, or we send them back, or should we admit them. We were the ones to decide. And we have seen a lot of people coming in front of us with a lot of pressure, and it was really very much difficult wearing the whole PPE and talking to them. You have to shout at them literally, because they're seated 6 feet away, and we ask them, do you have this, do you have that, are you okay? And some people cry in front of us. Even that is giving us pressure. We ourselves are at a risk of getting into, we may get infected. That is point number one. This, whatever PPE we wear, there is a chance of infection while doffing and donning and all that. So we are at risk. Point number two is we have to take the pressure from the patients. Point number three is we have to take the pressure from the bystanders. There, most times there will be bystanders of young children, old people, and there will be pregnant cases, and sometimes we had to face a lot of police, all those accused people will be brought to us for COVID test. Then there would be children from child care homes. It was like the whole lot of it was a whole lot of pressure in so many forms. And what we had was, we could travel from home, hospital, home. And myself, I was not staying with my family. I was staying isolated in a small flat in the town, because I didn't want to go home. And as I have little children, I have my own kids, and my parents are also there, so I didn't want them to get infected. It was so much of pressure. You can't eat what you like, you can't eat on time, you can't pee on time. So it was all very difficult in the initial months, and later on we got accustomed. We are like, okay, fine, this is like this. And then right now, after almost 1.5 years of the pandemic, It's like it's always, most of the times, only the pressure of doctors or nurses are at risk. I would say it's a whole team. We are the leaders. Doctor is the leader. We have nurses, we have pharmacists, we have lab technicians, we have those great two bhaias and all those people who help us like anything. They are cleaning all the infective waste from the hospital. And this is a whole team. The whole team is stressed out. And right now what is happening is the mental health of doctors, I mean all the health workers, has gone down in such a way that most of us have some or the other symptom of something like depression, or sometimes we are in panic.
Thank you, Dr. Shimna. You highlighted really important points, which we will be discussing further. But before we discuss that, I would like to move on to Dr. Mona Kulpati, and I would like to know from you, Dr. Mona, how difficult has the situation been for you, because you deal with children, and with children, their parents are involved, their families are involved. So, how challenging has the situation been for you?
Like Dr. Aziz has very correctly articulated the real time situation in the current times, which is the pandemic. But I will try to break down my answer with respect to children, so, since my experience is with little children and older children. And also broadly, I'll try to stick to the topic, which is mental health and doctors. So when I talk about children, uh, the first number one challenge is that children itself is a very vulnerable population, like you were saying. It's a very vulnerable population. They are just not small adults. Their physiology is very different. Their psychology is very different. The very fact that they are not able to express their problems or whatever their illness is, and the very fact that they're completely dependent on their caretakers, the doctors, for their well-being, it makes them a very vulnerable population. So the emotions are very high, the stakes are even higher. And also in the current times, in the pandemic, each one of us as doctors has faced it, besides our occupational issues, which are, of course, like, long hours, almost non-existent sleep, and, meal times, pressure of the superiors, sometimes even poor empathy of your superiors and your colleagues. And, they can be in personal issues. So all these, besides all these, with children, when we deal with children, we not only treat the child, it is the entire family. It's the parents, it's the siblings, it's the grandparents. So everyone has to be taken into account. We have to kind of give that time which is required to not only pick up and treat the child, but also manage along the whole team of that comes along with the child. And last but not the least, with children, the thing is that when you are associated, especially for a long time or a chronic illness, you become a part of their system. Even though there's so many children, but each child counts. Each child counts for the doctor as well. And when you are engaged, especially in giving not a very nice good news, as in your child has COVID, or this is the diagnosis of the child, or the treatment is not working, and or sometimes even mortality, death of a child, it can actually take a lot of toll. Does it take a toll? Yes, it does. And by and large, the whole approach is very clinical. But yes, it gets personal with every child. So yes, it's been very stressful.
So, quickly moving on to you, Dr. Vandana Shetty, I would like to know your perspective about the state of mental health of doctors, and drawing from the experiences which Dr. Kulpati and Dr. Aziz shared with us, and tell us what is one overriding concern among doctors about mental health issues.
Thank you, Nabila. I think what Dr. Aziz and what Dr. Mona put together resonates with the experience of all the doctors and healthcare workers across the country, because now it's almost 1.5 years and it's been constant. The work related to COVID has been constant, and no matter what your specialization or training was in, almost everybody is involved in COVID related work. So especially, I think the level of uncertainty, as we don't know when this is going to end. So it is at this point leading to a burnout among healthcare workers, because when it all started, there was more energy, there was more hope, and over time, I think what's increasing is the level of stress that each healthcare worker perceives. And when I say stress right now, because we're still in the middle of the second wave, what I would resonate with what Dr. Mona said, that it's very clinical the way you're working. And there is no time to really look into your own emotional responses. And right now, everyone's working on a surge of adrenaline, but we are anticipating that as the wave starts to subside, there'll be a stress response, which is going to be an aftermath of what people are experiencing right now. Even though doctors are inherently trained not to focus on their own emotional response, to be very clinical. And right from the early days of medical training, it's told to you that you have to be resilient, you have to be strong, you have to be the ones to give hope. There's very little focus on what the healthcare worker themselves experiences. And I think it works very well, that kind of training in a normal scenario. But when we're dealing with something like a pandemic where things have been going on for a long while, I think that very training can backfire, because now we have a set of emotions that all healthcare workers are going through. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to deal with it. And just accepting and acknowledging that this is happening may feel like a professional inadequacy, which it isn't, but that's just how our training has been over the years. So I think that completely resonates what experiences doctors across the country have been having.
Dr. Mona, please tell us about how is burnout a real danger, especially in young doctors, and what attitude changes, or what is that one takeaway you will recommend for doctors, especially younger ones, that so that they remain resilient in these difficult times?
See, data across the world shows that mental health issues are very much prevalent in the doctor fraternity, and the spectrum is wide. Okay, whether pandemic or non-pandemic, the spectrum is wide, from anxiety to depression to just burnout. We've heard that term a lot nowadays, burnout, because of the pandemic. So burnout is nothing, it's primarily a syndrome of extreme emotional exhaustion and depersonalization because of the occupational stress. And so the spectrum goes on from this which doctors face, especially the junior doctors and the trainees and the faculty, to the other extreme end of substance abuse, alcohol and drug consumption, and even suicide ideation. We are very well aware that that there's a twofold rise or increase in the ideation of suicide in doctors vis-a-vis the general population. I'm glad we are talking about this, because mental health itself is a topic of stigma, and then mental health in doctors, it's almost a very absurd or unreal notion, because we don't even mention it anywhere. So my take home would be from the seminar would be maybe sum it up in 3 A's: that we have to accept that doctors have burnout, doctors have mental health illnesses, and doctors, the healers, also need healing, right? The other would be acceptance. I mean, there has to be a time, and the time has to come very much soon, where we can discuss and accept mental health issues as any other physical health issue. Anyone should be comfortable saying that I have diabetes and I have depression. It should not be a stigma that one should carry. And number 3, I would think that we should have access to help and support, whether it's our hospitals or it's corporate offices or even our RWAs. There has to be that time where everyone can reach out for help and no one feels that I am alone or I don't matter. So that is my take home message.
Dr. Shimna, you were discussing about the anxiety levels and how families have been living under fear. So, tell us how families of the healthcare workers deal with this, considering their loved ones are always on this danger of getting exposed to infection.
Nabila, actually, I was one of those lucky doctors who got who got proper support from the family, though they had a little bit of anxiety towards getting infected. They were like, okay, you go and you be in your room, it's okay, you can come inside, go in your room, get washed and don't touch your children. That was what my mother told, my father told, and that was okay. But there were so many health workers, including doctors, who were asked not to come home. You be there, you be safe, it's okay. That was the attitude of so many of my colleagues has faced that. So that is very unfortunate. And as though not related, not though not directly related to the question, I have one more thing to add. You would have seen those incidents where doctors were brutally attacked. Recently it was there in Assam and also Karnataka, I think. So it's like, okay, we understand that the people around are in pressure, even we are in pressure for this very same period of 1.5 hours and plus. So it's like we are not at most of the time we are getting the care and respect from the society, family, fine. But sometimes the effort that we take, that is too immense and too much. We are doing it with a lot of determination, lot of dedication, but what we are getting back is this. And this totally makes us hopeless, and we feel shattered by seeing such incidents.
Would you like to add more to it, Dr. Mona, and share your experience?
Quite honestly, it's very organic, it just becomes a part of life. So what my family has a role in, or my colleagues have a role in, it's like it's just like a switch on, like like something like Spider-Man, from Peter Parker to Spider-Man. When you're there, you're just doing it, and you just have to do it, and you have to save, and you have to do the right thing. So it works that way. And coping is like, one, actually I haven't really, I think it's very organic. You come home, you do what you can with your family, but yeah, you go back to work again. You do, you deal with the day. We have friends, we're fortunate to have friends, seniors, with whom you can talk, discuss, and dissipate your frustration, and kind of, there is a sense of loss. There is a sense of loss. There is a sense of hurt. But having said that, just a last line on what Dr. Aziz was saying, that there was a WHO survey which has highlighted India as the top most depressed country of the world. And number two, another survey of WHO has also cited that India is the number one country where doctors are disrespected most. So I was quite surprised. So
So, since we are discussing about families and the residual anxiety which doctors take away home, I would like Dr. Vandana Shetty to quickly tell us more about how strong doctors are and how they are used to working prolonged hours. But seeing people die and seeing people suffer do make them vulnerable. So, how can doctors keep a positive frame of mind? And would you recommend any systematic changes that you expect?
Healthcare workers have been able to get through all these months of intense, very strenuous work, being very resilient. They have coped very well so far, which speaks volumes of how much they're able to tolerate. But we still do need to put some steps, some measures to make sure that the healthcare requirements, especially the mental healthcare requirements of healthcare workers, are taken care of. And this has to happen at multiple levels. At the individual level, getting support from family and friends, getting support from co-workers, it becomes extremely essential as of now, because everyone has a family back home. There might be children, there might be older people to take care of. So if you don't have that support system, it becomes very difficult to manage both your professional and personal life. I think at a hospital level, if a system has to be in place where you get an opportunity to debrief, to let out what's going on.
So, how well do you think we can utilize the existing resources available, Dr. Vandana?
I would say that using the existing team of healthcare professionals, mental healthcare professionals in the hospital, to conduct debriefing, to conduct group discussions where all other doctors get an opportunity to talk about their experiences, to resonate with others. These would be extremely useful. We many helplines have come up, especially dedicated helplines for doctors. But what we've seen is that, again, here the number of calls we receive is very disproportionate with the number of doctors there are and the number of doctors we know might be going through something, right? So that's another example of how help seeking is itself a very stigmatized thing, right? So apart from this, as Dr. Mona said, the senior leaders of hospital teams have to make this as one of the important agendas, where you are focusing on the health, the mental health needs of your junior doctors. Because I think right now, even in the front line, at the very front are the junior doctors. They are the ones who are essentially managing most of what's going on, right? And they're, of course, the most vulnerable because doing regular checks, holding group discussions, teaching mindfulness, upscaling training, especially training in how to break bad news, especially training in how to manage difficult members. Like Dr. Aziz said, the incidence of violence, there may be no way to stop it until people are sensitized, but at least being able to manage it in an appropriate direction should be part of medical training. And this is something that's lacking right now. And I mean, just to summarize this, it's not enough if only at the hospital level and the individual level we do this. There have to be systemic changes where policies are put in place, where mental health becomes a priority and everybody gets equally involved.
So, moving on to the last part of our discussion, I would like you both, Dr. Shimna Aziz and Dr. Mona Kulpati, to wrap up the discussion and share with us what attitude changes would you recommend and how doctors working on the ground can take care of their mental health.
I'd like to point out would be they should have an attitude to seek help. See, we are not superhumans. We are not superwoman or a superman that is working on the field. See, even if you are a junior doctor or senior doctor or any form of doctor, as Mantala ma'am rightly said, every single person in the medical field is involved in some or the other way. They are involved in COVID duty. So the first thing, if you're not feeling okay, if you're feeling unnatural, like if you're having some issues with your sleep, with your eating habits, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling you're worthless, there are so many things. We have an expert here, she'll be able to elaborate it more. And with all those symptoms which says that your mental health is going down, please feel free to seek help. Every state, every single institution that you work in has got the facilities to seek help, and means with the mental health professionals, whether it be a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. Please seek help. That is the first thing. Second thing would be, please, however busy you are, please take care of yourself. Without taking care of yourself with your basic needs, by adjusting whatever schedule you are in, you won't be able to sustain in this particular system for a long time. So you need to take care of yourself.
It's ironical that it has taken us a pandemic to get down to talking about mental health issues in doctors, because that is our topic. So my take home or concluding remarks would be that, as Dr. Vandana has said, that it has to be at different levels. It's not one discussion is very encouraging. And also because I tend to meet a lot of teenagers, young children. I'm very hopeful with the millennials and the Gen X. They're so much open, so much better than us in being accepting and being open to questioning to topics of mental health. So I'm very hopeful about it, but the changes have to be at multiple levels, and like at the systemic level, individual level, public. It has to be a public health problem, mental health issues. Doctors certainly, but even generally, it's about time that mental health issues are considered as a priority for a better community and a more conducive and a civil society.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining this panel discussion, and I really hope that this provides ground for doctors to talk normally about their mental health as normally as they talk about their physical health. Thanks a lot.